Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beef Banter, the podcast where we on the beef team dig into the real issues shaping the beef industry. From markets to meat quality to policy, production, and beyond, nothing's off the table. I'm Sarah Muirhead, and here with me today to break down the latest news and dive into everything beef are beef contributors Clint Peck and Neville Spear. Welcome to you both. Great to see you here today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
So let's start. We always want to take that quick look at what's going on in the cattle markets. Neville, give us some highlights and what's happening.
Well, I think the highlight to begin with is I have in my spreadsheet, and I'm sitting here looking at it. This current streak of better prices year over year. We're now at 238 weeks. So it started in March of 21, and so basically we're 4.5 years into this. We're trading fed cattle continue around 240. We don't have any market yet this week, but that's a little better than last week. Was a little better than $50 more than a year ago. But I think the real story really is on the feeder cattle side, right? We're at 360 somewhere in there, and that's more than if you kind of do the math, those cattle are worth $1,000 more than they were a year ago. And I think it's important as we put that in perspective relative to a feed yard. If you're sitting on a 50,000 head feed yard and you're spending an additional $1,000 for feeder cattle per head, right? That's $50 million extra equity that you need to operate. And so we really have escalated the equity at risk in this business. And I just think it's important that we recognize that. The other thing that I just think is super important, and every month we do the 210 analytics review, and Anne-Marie Roerink just does fantastic work with that data. But beef volume through August over the last year is up 5.7%. So we're selling more beef, dollars up 12.5%, right? So we've almost doubled the volume of chicken and also doubled the dollars, okay? Pork is up, volume is up 2.5% over the last year, dollars are up 3.4%. Clearly, beef is winning in the marketplace. People like beef. I just submitted a column, right, that my wife runs into a lady at the grocery store and who starts to tell her about how great beef is. And, her last thing she said was, "Oh my gosh, it was so good." That's the best demand signal of all. And it's really what's driving this business right now. It's a great story.
Very good. And we had an announcement here recently. I think it was on Sunday. New World screwworm infection, close as about 70 miles from the border. A cow found at a Mexican facility, and their USDA put out a big release. And I know Clint dug into that. Kind of some interesting little tidbits in that, Clint. You want to share some light on that for us?
Well, I've got the release in front of me. It was a 8-page release on Sunday by USDA talking about the finding of this cow. I think it was like an 8-month-old heifer that was found in just south of the border, Nuevo Leon. One thing that kind of concerns me about that release is that the animal was found 70 miles south of the U.S. border. But we don't know that necessarily that there were screwworm flies in that area infecting that cow. What we rather would like to believe is that cow was transported from somewhere in southern Mexico, somewhere south, and then was found infected 70 miles south of the border. So just because that cow was found with a screwworm larva 70 miles south of the border doesn't mean there were flies active in that area. And this kind of bothers me with some of the lack of transparency with USDA and how they are reporting this particular finding, and the fact that we have screwworm fly traps throughout southern Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, northern Mexico. I think 4 of the states in northern Mexico. And we're not hearing any reports of flies being found in those traps.
Mhm.
So I hope that this doesn't spread a little bit of undue alarm. Granted, we need to be very vigilant. We need to be careful. We need to be prepared. But I get concerned a little bit about sort of the sensationalism of these reports, even by USDA.
Yeah, that's a great term. I was going to use the term alarmist, but yeah, sensationalism. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, let's say alarmist. Yeah, that's
either way, it's great. Yeah, yeah.
But even more interesting in this 8-page release about the screwworm and extolling all the things that USDA is doing to help protect the U.S. cattle herd from screwworm infections was a 2-sentence, 1-paragraph addition that says, buried in the middle of this, USDA will soon release a significant plan to help rebuild the American cattle supply, incentivizing our great ranchers and driving a full-scale revitalization of the American beef industry. Second sentence, this is only the beginning, with many more announcements coming this week as USDA restores American strength, protects food security, and supports American ranchers and farmers. So somewhere along the line, Secretary Rawlins has something up her sleeve to help rebuild the U.S. cattle herd, and I'm not sure what that is. Neville, what are you thinking?
Well, the only thing I've heard is that there's been this sort of trial balloon that somehow maybe USDA is going to provide dollars out there for producers to retain heifers as an incentive, right, to start rebuilding the cow herd. But, who knows what that looks like. And, that gets messy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only messy, but can you imagine some of the rhetoric that's going to come floating out of that? I mean, I've already heard a little bit of it in that this is only a move to help with the beef supply, to help the packers stay in business, that there's going to be EID tags attached to these heifers that you retain, and all these conspiracy things.
For sure, if you're going to get dollars, it means you're going to be going into your FSA office, right? So,
exactly.
Yep. And, just be careful what you ask for, right?
Well, then, Sarah and Neville, I mean, what does this do to the markets if this thing is announced? For one thing, it's not even short. The impact's not even going to be short term, because it's going to be midterm, because we start retaining heifers this fall. It's going to be 3 years until that beef hits the table. Okay.
Yeah.
So why do something that's got a 3-year lag time on it? In the meantime, a lot of things can change, including the natural rebuilding of the cow herd that would happen without a program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's coming, right? And I just did a swing up through Nebraska, and the beef belt, right? They're getting rain. There's in fact almost too much rain, right? Yeah. And the prices are good. Serious-minded, business-minded producers, they're going to start rebuilding, and they're looking down the road. Yeah,
and we don't need here at Husker Harvest Days, Sarah. We talk to a lot of producers, and the majority of producers out there, I think, are sticking to their plan, and not panicking and taking the money and running right now with regard to their female breeding herds and retaining heifers. I think it's going to happen anyway without the federal government coming in and saying, well, we'll throw some money at you to see if.
Probably very true.
You just don't ever want the government getting in the middle of the business. Talk about, right, unintended consequences. And right, my favorite is Hayek, right? It's the knowledge problem. You don't know what's going to happen, so don't do it. Just let the market do it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, And you mentioned Nebraska, and Clint, you mentioned Husker Harvest, and we're talking about the cattle industry in Nebraska. We had one of the big new players coming in and talking to our audience there at Husker, Black Shirt Feeders. And I know you just wrote a great column. It's online on beefmagazine.com if anybody wants to read that, and it'll be in our next digital edition of Beef. But fascinating stuff. 200,000 head. Started out at 150, and I think they got fairly immediate approval to move it to 200,000. And give us a little background on that, Clint. I know you worked with him a little bit at the show.
So this is the largest feed yard in Nebraska, in southwest Nebraska. One of the largest single feed yards in the country. And Eric Belkey, who's one of the principal owners and designers and managers of the feed yard, Black Shirt Feeders, was on hand at Husker Harvest Days and told about this 1,000-acre feed yard that is all on the cattle are all on concrete. It's concrete floor, roller compacted concrete. It's like they built the runways in World War II over in the Pacific Islands, but it's designed so that the manure stays. Any liquids run off. It's completely leveled, designed. I mean, just incredible in the thought and the planning and the strategy that went into building this feed yard. It's a feed yard of the future, and it's got some people a little nervous. For one thing, it's big on, and probably will be even more big on, beef on dairy. They're going to go to the calf ranches, the dairy barns and the calf ranches and gather cattle, and probably be, wouldn't you think, Neville, contracted cattle, supply chain cattle.
Yep.
And then this feed yard is located equidistant from a whole bunch of packing plants. They're pretty much next door in southwest Nebraska, and it's huge. And they're going to use a lot of local feed. They're going to have anaerobic, digesters that will produce methane to run their operation. And they think they're going to have enough methane that they're going to put back into the methane grid. Yeah. So that's incredible. Black Shirt Feeders. Watch for them. What do you think,
Go
Neville?
online and read Clint's column, because it is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, Clint, it was a great column. Yeah, and I've seen some of those feed yards with that packed concrete up in Alberta, and the great thing is that you can clean them 365 days a year, right? It's you never really have to deal with mud, and so not only the cattle don't fight the mud, they don't come in with tags right in the middle of the muddy season, and that's a huge value, right? Huge difference maker. And yeah, what I know of them, they're going to be very much data driven, right? And it's a feedback loop, and it's going to be a supply chain. And yes, that makes some people very uncomfortable. But again, when we start talking about the equity at risk, we're going to have to manage that better, right? We can't just kind of do this willy-nilly. There's just too much money at risk in this business anymore. Yeah, and it's where we're headed. And we will increasingly see those, from my perspective, we will increasingly see those kinds of models get transferred over to the native side too.
Yep.
We're going to be building supply chains and what have you. Yeah.
And it just surrounds, at the end of the day, it's economy of scale. And being able to have that many head of cattle under those conditions where, then they come out and they head to the packing plants as cookie cutter cattle. And that's what the packers want. Yeah, it's what the consumers want.
It's what the consumers want. We got to make beef better, right? That's at the end of the day, it is a consumer business. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the new tagline, Neville, that they should adopt: "Make beef better."
Yeah, it's great, right? I mean, you never can have too much good beef, can you?
Nope.
So,
no, sir.
Right. I mean, and seriously, it really feeds back to what we were talking about earlier. It's all about consumer spending. Those dollars make their way back into the business. And yes, that varies somewhat over time and who has leverage. And right now, producers have a lot of leverage, but you want to continue to grow the pie and have consumers spend more dollars. Yeah.
Something else we're looking into is that it's kind of been a little debate for some time, the nutrient density when it comes to grass-fed, grain-fed cattle, even some differences perhaps breed by breed. Clint, you're working on that piece. You guys we'll see that here in shortly, and probably something we can banter about next month, but give us some insight.
Yeah. So kind of as we speak, I'm looking into the issue of nutrient density in beef and how that affects consumers, and maybe some of the differences between grass-fed, grain-fed, and like you said, there might even be some breed differences. We'll have some answers to that coming out in beefmagazine.com very soon.
You know, it's interesting. I get emails pretty regularly from people that raise grass-fed beef. And one thing for sure, they're very passionate about what they do. And some of them are doing a really good job of producing a high quality, very tasty product. Yeah.
And they are a big part of our beef supply and deserve that recognition of being that. I agree.
Yeah.
And I say they, it's a big industry, and you're right. The producers of grass-fed beef they're probably as passionate as anybody, if not more, about what they do in their systems, and they need to be applauded for the work that they do and the way they care for the cattle.
You know, it's interesting because that inherently kind of invokes the whole discussion about imports, which always gets people's emotions riled up, right? But obviously the majority of product we import is lean trimmings, and it goes into ground beef. Okay.
Yeah.
But there is certainly a small portion, but a portion of that's, for example, a prepackaged grass-fed product that is meeting that consumer demand. And again, if that's something that producers can do domestically and meet that demand, more power to them. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yep. Like any niche market, whether it's organic, natural,
absolutely,
any of those things that they want to tag on as a marketing tool. It goes back to what you said. It just makes beef better and puts it on the table for a well-rounded audience of consumers.
And there are definitely consumers out there that want that product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we could certainly grow demand as we start to
absolutely
expand the choices that they have and improve that consistency. Are we starting to see some of that take place, would you say, Neville? What are we seeing on the demand side right now?
Well, it just demands amazing, right? And by the way, so to that point, we always say the consumer. There's lots of different kinds of consumers, and we slice them up in a lot of different ways, right? And there are consumers that want grass-fed beef, period. They don't want grain-fed beef, and they're looking for that, or they want organic, or they want some other claim tied to that. And we need to meet that for sure. Yeah. Oftentimes, though, the biggest challenge is you have to be able to do it at some kind of critical mass, right? It has always
to be done that way to be affordable.
Yeah. And to really make it work, unless it's strictly a local kind of farmer's market or what have you situation. But yeah, critical mass is always important. Yeah.
So Neville, you had an interesting column here. It came out, I believe it was today, comparing pickup trucks and and kind of the labeling and country of origin is what we're talking about here. Want to give us a little light on where you took that?
Yeah, well, one of the fun things about where I live is we are in the middle of auto manufacturing country, and one of my friends is the UAW regional director, and I'm always interested in sort of the difference between when we perceive ourselves as producers versus when we're really consumers, because no one is just a producer, right? You're also a consumer. And to me, we get a lot of emotion around labeling, beef labeling, but boy, when you look at beef producers as consumers, one of the favorite pickups they purchase is a Ford F-250 or F-350 Super Duty with generally a Power Stroke engine. Well, we don't really know anything about the sourcing of those because the law doesn't make us do that. And I'm always fascinated by the fact that no one ever asks the question, where are those Power Stroke engines produced? Well, they're made in Mexico, you know, and so you start kind of going through that kind of comparison of what is it you really know about the pickup that you purchased, which, by the way, is a far bigger capital investment than a year's worth of beef at retail, right? And so, you know, ultimately I end it with, you know, every time you jump in your truck, let's be thinking about that. And do we really need to spend a lot of time on beef labeling? Because ultimately, everything that we look at and the best indicators, the meat demand monitor, consumers just don't care, right? And as much as you want them to care, I'd love for them to care, they just don't. It's number 12 out of 12 on the list. Yeah.
I might just add a postscript to that, and I've been watching this pretty closely on U.S. produced beef and the whole idea that there are a lot of consumers out there that do care where their beef is produced. And I'll tell you what, if you go to the websites of almost every beef council in the nation, state beef councils, you can find a listing of producers in your state, whether it's where I'm at in Montana.
That's right.
Almost any state, Iowa, Texas, Mississippi, Arizona, you can find a listing of producers that sell direct into the marketplace, and you can easily seek out those local producers to buy from. As a consumer, our state beef councils have made it very easy for you to seek out those local producers.
Actually, I think that's one of the great things that came out of COVID, right? Is that we really reinforced that opportunity for consumers to go buy beef directly, and a lot of them are. Yeah.
And good on those people. Yeah, good on those people that are going to the effort to have their own kind of micro vertically integrated operations where they're selling their own beef. I buy beef from a local producer, longtime friend of mine.
Yep.
And that's where I get my beef. And yet I kind of care whether it's U.S. produced, local produced, and it's not hard to go find it.
So again, the principle's the same. Let the marketplace do the work.
Absolutely.
We really don't need a government mandate, which, by the way, the first time around was hugely expensive and didn't really solve anyone's problem.
It did not.
Yeah. So it's the same principle that keeps coming around and around. Yeah. But by the way, so I do want to just say one more thing to that point is, you know, one of the talking points is always we have 4 packers that control 80% of the business. Well, there's only 4 companies now because Nissan no longer produces the Titan pickup. So we have 4 companies that produce what I would call work trucks, right? That control 100% of the business. And then the next thing is 2 of those are foreign owned, right? Toyota and Ram are not U.S. owned companies. So anyway,
there you go.
Just throw that out there.
Great point. You can read Neville's column as well on beefmagazine.com. So great discussion here today, but I'm afraid that's all we have time for. So on behalf of Clint Peck, Neville Sphere, and myself, we thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you guys for sharing your insights and your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.
We hope you all take a minute and subscribe to Beef Banter on your favorite podcast channel. Thank you for listening.